Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back in with another video, and this is going to be episode number 13 of the Starkiller base mock build series. This week probably has the most amount of progress I made on any of these episodes, and it all was pretty much devoted to making the base of the stage right behind me, so you guys can kind of tell back there. I have a pretty cool time lapse of me really just building up a lot of those levels, so you guys will see that in this episode, among other cool things, so I'm actually super hyped to show off Starkiller this week, so let's just jump right into it, guys.
My chain is cold, just like icy with the frost, I'm blowing up like Alderon. Shout out to grandma. Here's some advice you should remember. If you swipe a girl on Tinder and you meet that girl and kiss her, first make sure she ain't your sister. Cruising up and down the streets, boyos next to me, headed to the Tashi station to do some hood rat things. I called up my homeboy Malik, told him pull up at Jabba's palace, made it rain just like Kamina, with more green than trees on Scarif. I was up in Canto Bight, rolling dice and making bank. Now I'm about to put some rims on my brand new turbo tank, cause this galaxy is crazy. Trade Federation send them shooters, so you better have your boomers up the main computer. Now your boy is on the run,
not clear,
I'm a wanted man. Conjure Club is looking for me, finesse some boys out 50 bands. I was at the club on Bespin, this boy tried to sell me death. If I die from taking death sticks, bury me with my neck.
Alright guys, let's take a look at Starkiller. So the first thing you'll notice is I've actually removed a table from this entire display. Basically, all the base plates are sitting over there on the couch. I moved the table so I could actually pull this section forward and be able to access this back area where I was working on the stage. So it was really just for the convenience of being able to work on this thing without having to like lean over the MOC in either direction, especially since the stage was like backed up to the wall before this. So it'll probably actually stay like this for quite a while I'm working on the stage, just to allow me more like mobility around the MOC. What I also was doing was I basically pulled this first table forward so I could access the front of it as well. So it just makes things a lot easier working on it, and it would take up a lot of space if I kept the other table up but tried to move those both around this room. So it just worked out better that way. Unfortunately, you guys won't be seeing the entirety of this section for a little bit, but I think ultimately it will be okay, specifically because we're going to see so much unique progress on the stage area, and then kind of once that gets to a point where I guess I could put this table back in front of this, you guys will, it'll be kind of like, oh, like a nice surprise, right? Like, oh, it's finally back. But other than that, one of the things that I got done that's worth mentioning up front is I put those quarter circle tiles on here. I'm kind of bummed out because I thought I had enough, and if I was smart about it, I would have actually counted them out to make sure I had enough, but I just put in a quantity that I thought, oh, that should be well over what I need. And it wasn't. I'm actually still missing 2 right here on this section, so still got a few of those quarter circle tiles to gather, but for the most part, it will be okay because that's not a super important part. You honestly don't even notice it looking head on, so I'll just be sure to throw those in one of the orders I make moving forward, and I hopefully won't forget that. But the main course of the MOC that happened this week is, of course, the big stage area that is finally elevated. Behind it, we have basically a platform to build on, which is super important, and it's kind of one of those menial tasks, right? Like, it's you build this up and it doesn't add too much to the aesthetic of the MOC. It basically just allows you to build what you actually need to build. But nonetheless, it is an important thing to do. Before I get really into that, though, I did want to mention that I did a bunch more details on the walls of the stage here. So you can see got some more of those light gray and white details in it to match the other side, and actually really like the way that that came out. Kind of breaks up the monotony of just having a solid gray stage, gives it a little bit more detail, and it is, I don't know, it just makes things look a little bit nicer, I think. So if we dive into this back section right here, you can see this was quite the process, as you saw on the time lapse, just building up all these pillars back here, getting this thing up to a suitable height, which was basically the height of the front walls that I did here. So it's really tall. I think it's at least like 20 bricks tall, which is kind of ridiculous to think about. But the nice thing about kind of having this now is it lets me know how tall the other side of the base is going to be. you guys aren't familiar with what's actually going to be in this MOC, on the other side of like the building in the actual base area of the Starkiller base MOC, I'm going to incorporate basically like a big snow kind of area, and there's going to be a giant trench going down the middle of it. The trench that goes up to the oscillator, which is the building where one, our boy Han Solo gets got, and two, where Poe actually blows up the planet. So that's going to be one of the more interesting parts of the MOC, but just kind of being able to conceptualize, like, one, how much effort this was to build, and two, how tall it looks relative to some of the ships I have. It lets me know that I can get away with doing basically this height on the other side, because basically the trench is going to have to be very deep considering an X-Wing flies through it. So now I have a good idea of how tall I'm going to have to build that section up on the other side, which is going to be quite a bit of work. Like, this took me forever to do, it seems. Actually, that's hyperbole. It didn't take me that long, I think. Once I kind of nailed out the kinks in building it, but I just know, like, that section on that side is probably going to be like 3 times this right here, so it's going to take quite a while. May have to enlist the help of a few friends to help me just build up a lot of these pillars, which I guess is also worth mentioning. The pillar part would have taken the longest, but past Jay was looking out for future Jay, so shout out to past Jay for being considerate. And what I actually had were a bunch of like brick chunks, kind of. Oh, so these are like pillars I actually built for this MOC, but I had a bunch of these like 5 tall brick chunks, and I actually set these aside rather than like taking them apart whenever I took down Starkiller. I'm sorry, when I took down Vardos or Crate, because I knew I was going to be building up a lot in this MOC, so I was like, you know, why take them apart just to put them back up? So I had, basically this thing was full of those chunks, as well as another bin that I had, and that made this process go by so much faster. I'm sure you guys probably noticed that in the time lapse. I didn't have to stack all these pillars up one by one. So if you're someone who builds big, or even just builds up a lot, it's probably worth your time if you have the filler bricks. Like, I had a bunch of them in this like macaroni yellow color, and I know I'm never going to use that to actually build an exterior of anything. So if you have those, just keep them in a bin somewhere, and that way you're not doing double the work or extra work down the line when you do have to build up. So once this MOC is done, I'll probably keep a giant bin of these like brick sections right here. So whenever I move on to my next MOC, it's much easier to build up, and I'm not stacking 2x4s endlessly. I can kind of move forward with that. Same type of situation with these little squares right here. So these things are basically lifesavers, if I can pull one up. So a lot of people will use the traditional like big bricks that like I used to make back in the day. It's like a 8x16 brick, or like something along those lines. I actually have a stack of them right here. So these are not easy to get. These are expensive pieces, especially if I wanted enough of these to fill up this entire section. So I said, yeet with that, I'm not going to do that. Other people might decide to do this technique with the 16x16 plates, which is not a bad idea at all. But once again, these are expensive, especially to get enough of these to cover up this entire section. So what I've instead opted to do is basically just patching together a bunch of 4x6 plates. These are almost always on the pick-a-brick wall in some color, and I have a bunch of them. Still have a bunch over there in Crate, you can see. Got a stack of those. But yeah, so I basically just kind of cross-hatch them like this to make these sections, and these basically make the base of the stage area, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm actually going to be using these on the other side of the MOC, and it's super helpful, especially when you just need to build up and have a platform like this. So once again, if you want to cut some costs, you have a bunch of 4x6 plates. I know everyone doesn't just have a ton of these laying around, but I just feel like it's a more cost-effective option as opposed to trying to get those super large bricks like these, or the like 16x16 plates, which are also like $1.50 each, $1 to $1.50 each. So this just works out better for me. Plus, I know I have a lot of 4x6 plates. So another thing to consider if you're wanting to build big or just build up. But yeah, so let's actually look at some of the finer details that I've included on the stage. So up front, you can see I've basically included the section that's right behind this little like trapezoidal area that sticks out. So Hux and crew would be standing here. and then there's some more people standing behind them. Obviously, there won't be like two Phasmas and Resistance troopers standing back there. It's all like First Order generals and such. So that's who will be back there. Got some nice stairs with snow details in them as well. I love adding those snow details. I don't know, that's just a really cool part of this MOC, I think. You can see a lot of the snow is kind of in the cracks, and it's consistent with what you would see in real life, right? Like snow kind of gathers in cracks and crevices of areas. So that is why the snow is where it is in this MOC. If we move over to this side, it's just more details. It's not really anything functional, but there's these like vents right there. So I use the grill tiles. And one of the coolest things I thought I was able to add is actually the trim of the stage right here. This pattern basically matches what we had right here on the front of that trapezoidal area. So it's kind of cool to be doing that all the way down. I have not started on this side, but it made sense to do one side first because it's going to be basically the exact same thing but mirrored on the other side. So now I have some guidance and clarity when it comes to putting that together. So really, guys, that's all we have this week. I feel... I guess if you understand the amount of time it would take to build up the sections in the back, you would say, this looks like a decent amount of progress. Most people would probably say it doesn't look like a ton of progress, but trust me, building up those stage sections was a lot of work. Even swapping out the like plates in the walls actually took a bit of time. And I've really just been spending a lot of time looking at reference material to make sure I can make this stage as accurate as possible. So yeah, that's what we got moving forward. I just want to start really mirroring everything I did on that side, on this side, and tiling up more of the stage, and we'll be good to go from there. So let's go ahead and go to the end segment of the video, guys. And that's going to finish the video this week, guys. Definitely let me know in the comment section what you think about the progress that I've made so far. I am super happy with it. I think that a lot of the small details on the stage are really just coming together and helping me further understand my vision of what this MOC is going to be, especially since the way I thought it was going to kind of play out starting off is definitely not the way it's going to end up being in the finish, specifically with what I've had to omit on the stage area, kind of narrowing down what I'm actually going to be building. But I think in the long run, that'll be for the better of this MOC. Specifically, just the scale of it, I think will look really, really nice as we move forward with the MOC. So in this upcoming week, my biggest plan is to actually start the big buildings behind where Hux is standing to basically just, start building more upwards on the stage. I think that that should be a kind of a difficult process because I'm still not entirely sure how I want to build that, if I want to actually kind of build it on the sections that I have for the stage, so basically make that modular as well, or just kind of make it its own contained build, which is probably the most desirable thing to do, especially with something so tall. Problem is going to be issues like stability. But those are all things that we can definitely work out. I don't think it's anything beyond my capacity to figure out, so it'll definitely be exciting to see moving forward. Other than that, I'm also probably going to start taking a look into how I want to do my design for those big turbo lasers that sit on either side of the stage. Fortunately, it's going to be the same build, so I'll only have to technically design one of them, but they're going to be such a large build with some pretty intricate greebling, I think, so it'll definitely take me quite some time to work out all the kinks in that. But the shape is mostly pretty simple. The fact that you actually get a very close-up look at it in Battlefront is going to be really helpful with that. So yeah, that's pretty much going to finish up the video this week, guys. So if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.